Hello, today I'm here to talk about Rock Lee because I have a very specific question about him. So, first, if you don't know, Rock Lee is a character within the series Naruto. If you don't know what Naruto is a series about this character named Naruto who wants to be Hokage and is chasing after this guy named Sasuke, and there's ninjas and there's fighting and there's all that stuff. But we're here to talk about Rock Lee. Rock Lee was born without the ability to use genjutsu and ninjutsu. These are 2 out of the 3 abilities that ninjas use in the Naruto world. So, genjutsu is kind of like the illusionary technique. Something like that technique. And ninjutsu is basically, think of like Avatar The Last Airbender, but instead you're taking the chakra within your body, and I don't know if that also happens in Avatar The Last Airbender, but if it does, it's the same thing. You take the chakra within your body to create like fire, or wind, or water. And taijutsu, which is the technique that Rock Lee is able to use, mainly focuses on like martial arts and really like optimizing your human abilities. And the whole reason why I'm making this video is because one day I had a question that essentially was, if Rock Lee had the ability to use ninjutsu and genjutsu, do you think he would still be the same person? Rock Lee's personality, he is a hard worker, possibly one of the hardest workers, right after his sensei, Guy Sensei. I would say the primary reason why he works so hard is because he doesn't have these 2 other jutsus that would put him on the same level as other ninjas. But he works just as hard to maintain that level where everyone else is, except for everyone who has like a Jinchuriki, but that's like a different story. So to answer this question, I found 4 different types of psychological concepts that could kind of, give me some insight. So the 4 psychological concepts are: 1, self-determination theory, or SDT; 2, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation; 3, we have grit; and then 4, we have nature versus nurture. Almost forgot. So let's start with self-determination theory, or SDT. So according to SDT, there are 3 psychological core needs that drive our behavior. First, there's competence, and this is just like feeling like you've mastered something or you can accomplish something within your growth as a person. Second is autonomy. This is having like my choices and my rules and I play by my rule book kind of thing. Like just having confidence in yourself and who you are. And then third is relatedness, and this is just, connection with other people. I would say Rock Lee definitely aligns with competence. He is so big on mastering something because like that's his whole thing. Taijutsu. I'm going to be the very best at it, and I'm going to work very, very, very hard at it. Now, another character I would say aligns, there's so many characters, but one of the characters that I think aligns with one of these core needs very, very well is Naruto. If you didn't know, Naruto is the main character in the series Naruto, and his whole story is when he was young, he had a demon put inside of his body by his family. Neither here nor there. And so the entire village hated him because this demon, it's a tailed beast, whatever. This tailed beast destroyed the entire village, right? So people were not really messing with Naruto, but he was a kid. His parents were dead. No one was really looking after him, So he was just like, why does everybody hate me? So as he grew up, he really wanted the acceptance and the approval of people in the village. He wanted to feel like he belonged. So I think that is definitely one of the main driving forces for Naruto. Oh, also I wanted to show my shirt. It says better than I was yesterday, and then that's Rock Lee's hand. I just thought it was perfect for the video. And since we're talking about motivation, I think this is a great segue into our next point, which is about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So starting off, intrinsic motivation is basically doing what you genuinely love to do. You do it for the love of the game. No one needs to tell you to do it. You're just doing it because in your heart, you want to do it. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is when you're doing something because there's external factors. People are telling you you need to do it. You might feel guilty if you don't do it. There's other pressures that kind of, and that's why you're doing it. So with intrinsic motivation, I believe that Rock Lee falls right underneath it. He trains because he wants to. He's pushing himself so hard. No one else is telling him to do this. No one else is like, hey, if you want to be, my guy is doing it, but my guy is telling him to do this because he understands that Rock Lee wants to do it. So he is literally pushing himself so hard because he himself wants to do it. Now with extrinsic motivation comes 4 subcategories. I might need the paper for this one. So first we have external motivation, and this is being motivated by rewards or punishment. So a good example would be you take a test and you want to do really, really good at it, only because your mom said she would give you $20, or because your mom said you'd get grounded if you didn't do good. So your motivation is an external reward or an external punishment. Next, we have introjective regulation, and this one deals more with like anxiety or guilt or like pressure. So an example of this would be going to the gym to get fit, but you're not getting fit just because you love to, get ripped or whatever. You're doing it because maybe you feel insecure. Maybe you feel some type of shame or guilt if your body doesn't look a certain type of way. Moving on, now we have identified regulation. So this type of extrinsic motivation is where you don't necessarily want to do the thing, but you understand that there's value in it. So a great example is you go to a soup kitchen and you're helping pass out food. Do you necessarily want to go to a soup kitchen? Maybe not. But do you find value in what you're doing, which is, providing food for people who might not be able to get it on their own? Yeah, that's you're all about that. So the last subtype of extrinsic motivation would be integrated regulation. Now, to me personally, I think this type of regulation is super, super, super close to intrinsic motivation. There's just one factor that is a difference between the two. So a great example would be if you like film, you sign up for a film class so you can learn more about it. Now, that sounds like you're doing something that you love and you enjoy the task. So why wouldn't that be intrinsic motivation? So the big difference between intrinsic motivation and integrated regulation, which took me a very, very long time to figure out because it just was not making sense in my head because I was like, these are literally the same thing. But the key difference is that with intrinsic motivation, you're doing it for the love of the game, right? You're going out of your way to do something, but it's more of like, I want to make a short film, so I'm just going to go out and do it. Now, with integrated regulation, you're going out to an external factor to have this thing done. I want to write a story, so I'm just going to write a story. I want to write a story, so I'm going to take a story writing class, and I'm going to do this and this and this. All the external things. The class is an external thing. I'm going to go do that so I can do this thing. That's literally the only difference. So with all of that, there is a character that I think is highly motivated by extrinsic motivation, and that would be Sasuke Uchiha. So it was really hard to try and figure out what category Sasuke would fit in, but then the more and more I was like diving into Sasuke's like story or whatever, I was like, he's not just one type of motivation. He's so malleable. Is that the word? I don't know. His motivation is so moldable. Like he changes throughout the story, so he doesn't just fit in one. So starting off, Sasuke literally introduces himself with like, I'm going to kill my brother because he killed my entire family, right? External motivation, not motivation, regulation, external regulation. And it's literally like the only reason why I'm doing this is because of this reason. Now, do you remember that scene where Naruto and Sasuke were fighting on the oh my gosh, the roof of that building? And then Sasuke sees that like Naruto made a bigger blast than him and he's like, oh my god, this is so stupid or whatever. And then Kakashi and him are having this conversation. In their conversation, Sasuke does kind of waver in his I gotta kill my brother kind of just a little, right? And I think that would be a great transition into identified regulation because that's where you don't necessarily want to do it, but you see that there's value in doing it. So he's like, oh, well, I don't really know, but I know my brother's gonna die. I do also want to sneak in introjective regulation because that's the one that deals with anxiety and guilt. Because I would assume that Sasuke would have some type of survivor's guilt. And so I had posted on Twitter and someone was like, yeah, he said in blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, perfect. And then I went and checked. I was like, oh, perfect. This is the exact evidence that I needed for my statement. So I would also say introjective regulation is somewhere in there. And then finally, I would say that identified regulation is where Sasuke was after he was with Orochimaru for however long, getting his power and really like building up his revenge. So as you can tell, there is a stark difference between Rock Lee and Sasuke in their types of motivation. Once again, Rock Lee is intrinsically motivated. He does it for the love of the game. No one has to tell him he needs to work out. He's gonna do it anyway. Sasuke, on the other hand, he went through a lot of the subcategories of extrinsic motivation, but throughout it all, he knew he needed power to kill his brother. So Okay, and so for the next psychological concept, we have grit. And this comes from this book called Grit. I actually should have brought the book down here with me because it's upstairs in my room. But this book is by Angela Duckworth. And I actually read the book a while ago. So it's pretty cool that I'm able to use what I learned in the book now in this video. So Angela Duckworth defines grit as passion and perseverance over a long period of time. So that is hard work, that is grit, and essentially that is how you come into success. Now, another conversation that Angela has within the book is talent versus grit. And I think a wonderful example, not Naruto, would be the Gaara and Rock Lee fight. Now, Gaara is a character within Naruto who is kind of similar to Naruto, but also not. He's similar in the way where he also has a tailed beast inside of him, except Gaara's like this brooding, dark, emo character who's like, I'm gonna kill everybody. Well, no, he's not like that. Kind of, sort of, not really. He has this reservoir of power from his tailed beast, which I would consider his talent. So during this fight, everyone's assuming that, game's already over, Gaara's gonna win. There is a moment where, Rock Lee drops his weights. Everybody knows that scene. And everyone's like, okay, maybe he's got a little something. We don't really know what's gonna happen. So during the fight, Rock Lee is able to get a couple sneaks in there and actually is able to punch Gaara. And I think this is a great example of showing how grit, even without the talent, is still able to be at the same level. It's his hard work that gave him the ability to shine, even with someone who has more talent than him. Now, a great follow-up question to this concept of grit is, how do I know if I even have grit? Is it like in my genes? Is it something that I should already have? I don't feel like I'm very hardworking. Can I somehow fix that? Duckworth does say that grit is like every other trait and that it is influenced by genetics. So that means that certain aspects of your perseverance, your passion, your tenacity might be inherited in the same way that your physical traits like your eye color and your height might be. Also, Duckworth says that these traits are polygenic, so they are influenced by multiple genes. Now, there's two neurotransmitters in your brain that I think influence, grit a little bit more than the others. And a neurotransmitter is basically a chemical in your brain. So these two neurotransmitters are dopamine and serotonin. Let's start with dopamine. So this is the neurotransmitter that is a reward system. So when you achieve something, dopamine gets released in your brain and you have this like euphoric, wow, I did it, I'm amazing kind of feeling. If you accomplish something, dopamine kind of motivates you to then accomplish something else, and something else, and something else. And it's kind of like building a little, actually, it's kind of building stairs for you to keep going, because you're going to want to continue to kind of chase that high of your achievements. Now, if you have low levels of dopamine, you probably aren't going to be as motivated to do the next thing, because what was the point? I don't even feel that good when I did it in the first place. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter that has to do with your emotional balance and your mood regulation. So this is like, let's say you fail at something, right? And you're probably going to be a little sad. You're going to be upset with yourself. What serotonin does is make sure that you can bring yourself back up, right? So if you have low levels of serotonin, you're probably going to stay down here a little bit longer. And why this, neurotransmitter is important is, and especially in the aspect of grit, is because if you fail and you don't continue, where's the passion? No, this is perseverance. The perseverance to keep going. The perseverance to say, even if I fail, I can keep going. I can keep striving and achieving all that stuff. So basically, dopamine is your motivation to act, and serotonin is your emotional resilience to keep going. Wow, I have been talking for a long time, but our final psychological concept is nature versus nurture. I'm sure you've heard of this before, but just one more time. And since we were just talking about things that are happening in the brain, this is perfect for bringing up nature, which is basically what's going on inside your body, like how you were made, your genetics, your neurotransmitters, the levels. Like, I act this way because my dopamine levels are low. I'm acting this way because my serotonin, you know what I mean? It's like the chemical makeup of yourself. It would be pretty helpful if we could do like a little genetics test on Rock Lee so we can see his levels of dopamine and serotonin. Nurture is the influence of your environment, the things around you, society, your friends, your parents, the dude on the street, like all these people, all these little different aspects that you don't really have control over, even though you don't really have control over what's going on inside your body. But like all those outside external factors, those would be considered nurture. We don't know the genetic makeup of Rock Lee. We just know he's a hard worker. But we do know about his environment. Kind of, sort of. We don't know how he was brought up. I don't even know if we really know his parents. But we do know that he has one figure in his life that is like the epitome of like, I don't even know what to describe my guy as. But Guy Sensei. So Guy Sensei is Rock Lee's teacher. They're literally like little carbon copies of each other. And if Rock Lee is a hard worker, my guy is literally like the embodiment of a hard worker. In the dictionary, they definitely have a picture of his face. So outside of the rigorous training that they both go through together, I think a great example of how my guy was such a great influence for Rock Lee was after the fight with Gaara, he broke his leg. And then Tsunade was able to fix it, but there was a 50-50 chance that he would either die or his leg would be okay. And so Rock Lee really had this like depressing moment. His serotonin levels were down here, abysmal levels. And he was basically like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, I don't know if I should give up. Like, this is tough. This is, I don't know what to do. He's depressed. Never seen him like this before. My guy's like, whatever you decide to do, I'm here with you because it's me and you. It's me and you to the very end. I feel like Guy said, if you die, I die, but I don't know. It sounds like something he would say though. I'll post the clip.
1 in a million chance something should happen to go wrong. I will die right along with you. My Nindo has been to train you to become the most splendid ninja possible. That's a promise.
I think having that kind of support system for Rock Lee really helped motivate him to continue to try and, work harder, self-improvement, over and over and over and over and over again. But if my guy was not in Rock Lee's life, would he feel motivated to do that? I don't know. You know what I should probably do? I wonder if there's an episode. I'm sure there is, unless Kishimoto just is not rocking with Rock Lee. There has to be a moment in Naruto where they show them meeting for the first time. I don't know. We'll see. I'll do some more research. So with all this being said, let's go back to my overarching question. If Rock Lee had the ability to do genjutsu and ninjutsu, would he still be the same person? And the answer is, I don't know. I think you could say if you took certain core aspects away from Rock Lee, he probably wouldn't be the Rock Lee that we know today. But also, who knows? But of course, there is like this, I don't know if it's a theory or like what you would call it, but how like our disadvantages really make and shape who we are. So if Rock Lee then had the advantages of having genjutsu and ninjutsu, would he still be molded by, by his disadvantage, So I don't know, but I want to say that he wouldn't be. And I think this applies even to us. Like, there's so many small things that have happened in our life that has shaped who we are. And if we take anything that has happened in our life until now away, who knows if we would be the same person? If I grew up in another state that wasn't the state I was, would I still be the same person? If I never got into anime, would I still be the same person? So it's very interesting. And now I have a question for you guys. How do you think your environment has shaped you? Think about where you were raised. Think about the environment you were in. Think about how your parents raised you. Think about all that stuff and think, how did it shape you? Is there a way that you talk to people because of the way your parents talk to you? Is the way that you dress maybe shaped by the people you were around when you were, in those formative years? Follow-up question to that is, what do you think drives you? Is it an internal compass, or are there external things that make you feel like you have to do what you're doing? Are you doing things for the love of the game, or are you doing things because this person might like you a little bit more, or because this person might get mad at you if you do something, or, all those things, some things to think about. I would love to know your answers. So this was really fun. I definitely want to do more videos like this. You guys don't know, I've been thinking about making this video for months, and I just never did it because I just didn't feel like it was complete. So I just kept it in Google Docs. And sorry, I was about to reach for the papers, but I just kept it in Google Docs and I didn't do anything. And I kept saying like, oh, today's the day I'm going to record it, or today's the day I'm going to do this. I just never did because I was like, my brain. But then today I did it. So that's super cool of me. I'm very, very proud. I definitely want to do more videos like this. I love like diving deep into characters. This is essentially a character analysis just through a psychological lens. I even printed off all my notes. I was very prepared. But yeah. This was really fun. I don't really have anything else to say. Everybody watch One Piece.